Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds. Kia ora, malola varsi good morning.
I'm sorry about your Blues last week, Tavai. That was a very clinical game by those Cantabrians. I mean, I'll just put on the record that the Hurricanes did beat them a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sorry for the Blues. So but let's get behind the Chiefs, because remember the Chiefs used to be County Manukau. Used to cover that area when Super Rugby was first started. So let's go with the Chiefs this week.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Okay, thank you. Fafte Delilava more than a tie out. Okay, ole vayanga more than a tie out from the Molina Felga Minister. The equity system for surgery prioritization. Are you able to tell us more about this, please, Minister?
Yeah, so thank you. So the equity adjuster tool is for surgical procedures, so those who are on the wait list. And what it is that people that go on the wait list to waiting for surgery, clinical need is number one. It's always been the number one priority. So how much they need to get that surgery, how unwell they are as a result of it. It will always be the number one priority. The second criteria is how long has a person been on the wait list for. So with clinical need and you've been on the wait list long, you are likely to be higher up on the list to get your surgical procedure done. But what the evidence is showing is that people who are from a rural community, from a low income background, if they're Māori or if they're Pacific, they will likely to have more inequitable health outcomes. So as a result, you go through clinical need, you go through the wait list, and then for everyone else, there is a tool which then basically weighs up. If you're from a rural background, low income, Māori or Pacific, it will rate you a little bit higher by a couple of points in particular. So this basically shows us that because this is the group that will generally have inequitable health outcomes, we need to make sure that they have access faster, because what's showing is that they're not. And so a really good person that's come out to support this, clinicians actually, the Royal College of Australasian Surgeons, they've come out to say, yes, we support this because it's the evidence that shows it. Also, many of our Pacific people will know Sir Colin Tukiitonga, which is one of our leading Pacific healthcare specialists. And he said again that, the rates of intervention for Māori and Pacific warrants that, given their conditions, they should have some sort of surgical intervention. So, that we tend to linger longer on the list. So for us, it's about making sure that we have a tool that will make sure that it to eliminate some of the existing inequalities, and Te Whatu Ora will monitor that data really closely. But we've also said is because there has been quite a bit of pushback around this, and the Prime Minister has asked the Minister Aisha Verrall to check on the tool to make sure it's working as it should be. But ultimately, critical need is one. Do you, how much do you need the surgery to improve your life or your health? And then there are a number of other factors that come after that, including where you live, whether you're low income background, whether you're Māori or Pacific.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Well, when you said critical need, there are complaints already. I want just to let you know, because some people are saying it has to be prioritized according to the seriousness of the illness. So no matter whether you are Māori or Pacific Islander, if you are in a serious condition, you should be number one on the queue.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And that's exactly it, which is you are number one in the queue because of your clinical need.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Supporting a strong future for screen sector, please, Honourable Minister. Are you able to tell us more about this?
Yeah, so a number of weeks back, the Minister for Culture and Heritage, which is the Deputy Prime Minister, Kamasa Poloni, and we announced some of the screen sector changes that to strengthen our strong screen sector industry that we have in New Zealand. You know, we've had a number of really big Hollywood films that were being filmed here in New Zealand. We've also had Jason Momoa, who's been filming here in New Zealand, you know. So we want to be able to attract these and keep it attractive, to keep these sort of large screen productions and other productions to film here in New Zealand. So what currently happens is if they film here in New Zealand, they can get what's called a screen sector grant to cover their post-production visual effects, sound effects. So that's been in since 2014. And the screen sector itself contributes more than $3.5 billion to our economy, and it employs just under 14,000 people here in New Zealand. So making sure that we have our settings or our incentives are right to attract these production companies is an important part of our economic plan. So what's basically what we confirmed is that we currently have a rebate here in New Zealand, but we're simplifying the 5% uplift for international production. So that's basically so that they can get the additional 5%, but we're going to make it a little bit easier for them. The other big change is that we're going to make sure that at the moment that grant only applies to international screen productions. We're now going to allow it to apply to the domestic screen productions. So, you know, for a lot of our up-and-coming Māori and Pacific screen productions, post-production companies here, people that work in that industry, it now means that it's going to be extended to them if they're based here in New Zealand, so domestic screen productions. And then we're going to make some minor changes around the post-production grant, but basically we've confirmed that we're keeping the current grant, and then we're simplifying the 5% uplift. So, and then, one more thing is we're dropping the threshold for those who can access this grant from $500,000 to $250,000. So it's a really good, it's been some tweaks that we've made to make it more accessible and again, to incentivize those big productions, those for post-production here in New Zealand, as well as our domestic industry.
Honourable Minister, last few weeks about vape shop. I was reading last night, Radio New Zealand did have a report. There's a family in Strathmore, I'm sure you know exactly because it's around Wellington, complaining. There's a vape shop that will be within 300 meters from school where their children are. They are very concerned. What's your take on this, please?
Yeah, so I totally, again, acknowledge their concerns with that. And that's actually the very similar case to what happened here in Porirua, which led to those regulation changes. So the regulation changes are for those that are new vape shops that apply to the Director General. But those that have already been through the process, the Director General of Health would have made decisions based on the old rules. But what happened here in Porirua was a vape shop opened up just across the road, so about 200 metres across the road from the front gate of one of our schools. When I met when my team met with the school and the dairy owner or the vape shop owner, there were certain conditions that the Director General of Health can put on them, so that under the current rules. So one of them was they couldn't open till 10 a.m. They had to shut their doors at 2:30 and they weren't allowed to open up till 3:30. And then the same, the advertising rules that apply. So it is unfortunate that that one has opened more recently across the road from a school within the 300-metre barriers, but again, 300-metre boundary, but that would have been decided under the old rules, but the new rules are coming in. So it is unfortunate, but it's exactly the same situation we saw here in Porirua, which is why we needed to change the rules.
Okay, well, hopefully there will be a change of the rules because our concern on because you already mentioned on our program you are more concerned on the health of especially our young people. So, point of view, I think they have a point and they have an issue. I'm so sorry, Honourable Minister.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have a point, and it's exactly the same situation we saw here in Porirua, which is why when the new rules come into force, because they're going through the regulation process, when those new rules come into force, that's when the Director General of Health can then no longer allow those vape shops to open within that 300-metre boundary.
Okay, finally, Honourable Minister, this week on the Nevayaso, o le fo'ua a tofi o le Station Minister, le Kabineta, Margot Woods. How much pressure is the Labour government under after another minister resigning?
It is a really unfortunate situation, and it's disappointing, especially for our Prime Minister. And the thing is, in a small country like New Zealand, conflicts do arise. We're a very small country, and there's lots of different things which arise because of our small number. But it's our job to manage them. And there are rules in place to manage them. And it's really clear that, Michael Wood has fallen below the standard of those rules, especially because we're cabinet ministers. We are held to a different standard of level, and we've got processes in place both to manage conflicts with our cabinet office and with the pecuniary register of interests. And it's clear that he didn't meet that and has resigned as a result of it. But for me, it is going to be a really tight election. That's the nature of New Zealand politics. So for me, I'm focused on doing my job, doing the best I can for New Zealand and our Pacific community, and I'll just stay focused on that.
Excellent. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Okay, before I let you go, this week is New Zealand Volunteer Week. And Radio Samoa was talking to some of our tamari Oletunu doing lots of community volunteering work. Would you like to say something about what they're doing for the community?
First of all, happy Volunteers Week. Our country cannot function without people who care and want to do their part to make our country a better place. So, whether that's the volunteers who clean their churches on a Saturday so that our church congregations can come in during the week, those volunteers that have helped out, to coach our kids, manage our kids on the sports field. And, for me, as the Minister of Fire, responsible for Fire Emergency New Zealand, I have over 12,000 volunteer firefighters. So people who want to, join the volunteer for the fire service. We just thank you so much for your work. We cannot operate as a country without your service, and we just really appreciate all that you do for our country.
Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for supporting the Chiefs. Janine, supporting the Crusaders. So thank you for joining me supporting the Chiefs. I know.
Janine, you've got to remember where the Chiefs came from. They came from when counties Manukau and Waikato were together. That's counties of South Auckland, Janine.
Okay, Minister, thank you so much. And go to Chiefs.
Go the Chiefs.
Yes, Minister, Honourable Barbara Edmonds,